So imagine you spent years watching your favorite heroes and reading the stories of their epic adventures. They've inspired you in your own life to even push your own limits. And over time, you've wanted to make your own story that could inspire people the way they inspired you. But the motivation for it just wasn't there. So you let your dream just stay on the shelf and collect dust. But one day, you get the call to action. A contest to battle against other people who have the same dream as you, to be the best like those who came before them. But what do you even need to attain the dream that you sought after so long ago? Do you have what it takes to be among the greats? And that brings me to the topic of today's video on how to win a manga contest. But before we get into this video, if you don't know me, my name is Vandal. I am a self-published mangaka and author of note. My goal is to help other manga and comic book artists with their art and their writing skills to craft the story of their dreams. To really help motivate you and mangaka around the world, I have created a manga and comic book competition that's open to all creators, that's currently running from October 2nd to April 21st with a cash prize totaling of $3,500 USD. If you're interested in registering, click the link in the description below now, but let's get into the video. So hey there everyone, I'm finally back with another video, and it's a bit special today because I'm doing a collab with MonitorComics.
How's it going everyone? My name is MonitorComics and I am the creator of the published Saturday and manga series Change the World. If this is your first time hearing about me, then I hope you can check out some of my YouTube videos after you are finished watching this one. On my channel, we have already covered a ton of cool topics, including how to world build, how to create shonen manga, and how to create power systems.
So you talked about your series Change the World. I'd love to hear a bit more about it.
My published Saturday and manga series Change the World can be read for free at pilotmanga.com. Change the World is a slice-of-life fantasy story about a young boy with the power to make his drawings come to life. The protagonist, Mateo Espinosa, dreams of one day becoming a professional artist. However, his stern father would prefer it if he gave up his dreams and became a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer instead. One day, Mateo discovers a strange sketchbook in his attic. Using the power of this magic sketchbook, Mateo decides to try and change the world using his art.
Since we're talking about manga contests, which ones have you entered in the past, and what was your experience with them?
In the past, I've competed in Saturday AM's March Art Madness competition and Saturday AM's Summer Manga competition. At my university, I've competed in the LVAIC Women and Gender Studies Conference. March Art Madness by Saturday AM is an annual competition where 64 artists are selected from around the world to compete in a bracket tournament. If you don't know who Saturday AM is, they are the world's most diverse manga brand. Saturday AM currently has 3 different magazines and over 100 issues. You may recognize some of their published creators such as White Manga, Saigami Project, J. Oden, and Blake Showers. You can pre-order physical Saturday AM manga volumes from bookstores like Barnes & Noble right now. The physical graphic novels will be on shelves starting in the summer. In March Art Madness, selected participants are given a theme every week over the course of 4 weeks and must submit a piece of finished artwork to be reviewed by Saturday AM judges and the public. This year's March Art Madness tournament is currently going on, so I hope you can check out some of this year's participants and their work. I think I entered this competition back in 2016, and unfortunately I got knocked out in the second round. Saturday AM's Summer Manga competition was the second contest I participated in. Summer Manga is another annual event that takes place during the summer right after March Art Madness. In Summer Manga, you have to pitch a manga idea to be reviewed by a panel of judges. Out of thousands of applicants, about 15 are selected to compete. Each selected participant would then create a 10 to 15 page one-shot that would be run in one of Saturday AM's summer issues. My manga one-shot, Second Serving, ran in Saturday AM issues 106 in 2016. There are no quote-unquote winners per se for Summer Manga. If your one-shot does well with the readers and the Saturday AM staff, you may be asked to create a series with them. This is how I got my start with being published with Saturday AM. The last contest that I mentioned, the LVAIC Women and Gender Studies Conference, was an academic event that I had to apply for through my university. This event was hosted by 3 universities and consisted of student-led presentations. Selected students from all 3 universities would showcase research papers, essays, and creative projects centered around gender-based activism. I was asked to participate in this event with an original comic called Gender Vignettes. This one-shot ended up winning 1 of 4 grand prizes and an award called the Williams First Prize.
From your experience from entering these contests, what do you think is the most important thing that a mangaka needs to actually win a contest?
In my opinion, I think the most important thing a mangaka needs to know to win a manga contest is originality. When I say originality, I'm talking about being able to take creative risks and innovate. It is really easy to create something cookie cutter that everyone has seen before. It's very difficult to create an experience that feels fresh and unique. Originality can take many forms. It can be the way you draw, the way you tell stories, the way you develop your characters, etc. I'll be the first one to say that I am by no means an amazing artist. I believe the success that I have had comes from my ability to create comics that nobody else is creating. I try to create manga that only I can create.
I really love that take, and I really believe in people creating manga that is self-reflective of their own experience and only something that they can create. That's something that I talk about way too much on this channel, but I am super happy to hear from someone else, another creator, talking about this. And I think it's an important thing that all of us as mangaka need to do. Make something that only we can create. Now, with that said, what are some tips that you can give our viewers that can help them with their contest entries when they want to enter a manga or a comic book competition?
Here are my 5 tips for winning a manga contest. Tip number 1, unique execution. Nothing is 100% original. Everything that has been done before will be done again and again. For this reason, I encourage you to take inspiration from pre-existing comics and manga. Pay attention to details that you like from certain stories and incorporate them into your own. Look for flaws in comics and manga with interesting concepts and reimagine them. In the end, all that matters is execution. Can you take an idea or a concept that has been done before and make it feel new again? If you can master unique execution, you will have a major advantage over competing entries that feel textbook, generic, and mediocre. Tip number 2, avoid stiffness. What I see in a lot of amateur comics and manga is stiffness. What I mean by stiffness is the artist is afraid to take creative risk. This can sometimes be seen through the artwork or the writing decisions. It is really easy to make your characters sound robotic or too serious. It's hard for an artist to lighten up and add humor or fun into their work. Obviously, if you're creating a comic or manga that isn't in the comedy genre, you may not want to include a joke every few pages, but you should be trying to make your work more engaging. You want your reader to experience different emotions while reading your work. Get more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Critique your work and ask yourself if you would enjoy reading this. Research the competition. If you are able to, check out past winners of the comic or manga contest you are entering. I also recommend reading some of the loser entries if possible. Doing this will allow you to see the difference between winning entries and losing entries. Some competitions also allow you to read the works of other participants currently entering. Take notes of what common genres and subject matters are being explored. In my experience, it is best to avoid doing what everyone else is doing. By finding a hole in the market, you'll be able to create a unique opportunity for your work to really stand out from the rest. Like I said before, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, so your art and writing have to be high enough level for you to see any real results. Tip number 4 is going to be knowing your judges. For some comic and manga competitions, the judges are publicly announced early on as a marketing strategy. The best part about knowing who your judge is you can figure out what type of manga they enjoy reading and creating. Let's face it, if these artists are qualified enough to be judges for a comic competition, odds are they are manga artists themselves or they are well versed in comics and manga. There are bound to be resources online to give you information about the types of stories these judges enjoy creating and consuming. It's important to remember though that everybody is looking for something different. Just because your favorite shonen author is judging a competition doesn't mean they want to read a generic action adventure shonen story. Use the time you have to get to know your judges and use that data to influence the approach you take with your entry. My final tip number 5 is going to be have fun. At the end of the day, manga competitions are meant to be fun. Give yourself enough time to get your entry done on time and create the best artwork you can. Your dedication and passion will show through your work, so have fun with it. Don't stress too much about losing. No experience is a bad experience. No matter the result, you produced a piece of work that you should be proud of and learn from.
I mean, yeah, I really agree with a lot of the tips that MonitorComics said. There's a lot that goes into you making a manga for a manga competition. There's a lot that you need. And I did promise you guys 10 tips, so let's get into other half of this video on the other 5 tips that can help you with your manga contest. Now, this first one is something that I like to bark about a lot, and that is first you need to know the rules. And I always say this, but you do need to make sure that you read the rules of the competition or the contest that you're entering. There might be info on the amount of pages or the genre or something about it being in color or not in color. Just make sure that you follow them, because the worst thing you could have done is spend so much time on your work to be disqualified on one small little thing that you could have just taken a look at in the rules because you missed one simple rule by not reading it. So make sure you read the rules more than just once. Sometimes you miss something on the first pass, you'll get it on the second. Some manga contests might even have like a theme that they're going for. Make sure that you stay on theme. If it's romance, don't do adventure horror or something that's different or off topic. Even if it's the best in that adventure horror thing, don't go off theme, because if there is one, they won't pick your work. You'll just be wasting the judge's time and your own. Now, usually what I would say is once you know the rules, you can break the rules. And this applies to just everything. I always talk about it about in art where if you know the rules, you can definitely break them. But even here, it's even better because once you know the boundaries of your contest and what you can actually do, you can really go wild with the parameters that you're given. That real creativity comes here because, you know, that's why I honestly enjoy contests, because with a contest, you have rules, but you have to figure out how to go around them or work within them. And whatever you create, it's going to be more creative than anything you would have made before because you have all these limitations set on you. That's why I really enjoy just the rules of the contest, because it allows you to frame how you're actually going to create and really put you in that uncomfortable zone of creating. So now that you have like understood and got an idea of the rules, make sure that your fundamentals are solid. I'll always say this: work on your anatomy, work on your fundamentals of art. One of the things, if you check out my last video on the results of the Kyoto Manga contest, is that presentation does matter. It's true that a story without the best art can do great things, but I believe having a well-rounded approach to your manga making is great, and having your art just as great as your story is important. So make sure that you're constantly working to improve your art. Make sure you're also doing life drawings, studying the fundamentals, and even doing fun drawings in other styles so you can get a well-rounded view on your practice and it doesn't get stale. Also look at, refining your actual manga techniques, use of panels, use of line weight. You can also see my video on the video manga making process. You can check this whole playlist on how to go about that, update yourself and brush up on your bearings again. But lastly, one of the other things you want to make sure that's all important in the presentation is also your storytelling. Make sure that you can tell a good story, especially sometimes you can be limited to 5 pages, maybe you can even be limited to 20 pages. Just make sure you have a good solid base on your storytelling styles and how to approach that, and it can definitely help you in whatever contest you're going to enter because you'll have a solid base in your art and you'll also have a solid base inside of your story. So now I want to piggyback a little bit on the tip that MonitorComics made earlier on that idea of unique execution, and I want us to think about the wow factor. So in a manga contest, you don't have too much time to actually stand out and get noticed. So one of the most powerful things you can have is a powerful hook. I talk more about this in my first video that goes in depth on how to actually start your manga, but basically what you want to make sure is whatever you start with is getting to the point and is interesting so that the reader wants to know more and the judges want to know more and they're curious about where is the story actually going. That said, you have to make sure that your premise is strong. That basically means the idea of your manga is something that is compelling and interesting, and that's going to take a little bit of brainstorming trying to figure out how to make it compelling, interesting, and an awesome premise overall. But always research and, take from your actual lived experience, and you're going to create something that is really unique. The other thing is that the presentation, like we talked about earlier, is having your foundation set, having all your fundamentals, art-wise and story-wise, all put together. It's very important to make sure that you can create something striking in those first few pages. I talk about this in the other video on starting your manga part 2, but what is one of the most important rules I think you can take from that video is the idea of the 3-page rule and really hooking your reader there. It's really something to create that shock and awe factor so they're really hooked in at the beginning. So one thing I want you to think about is working possibly with other people, collaborating in manga, just kind of like in Bakuman. Now, this is something that you'll get from time to time being a writer that is in need of an artist or an artist that is in need of a writer. But I know I recommend collaborating, just like in this video with me and MonitorComics. You can create something that is greater than the sum of its parts. So what you got to do is you got to identify what you're good at and what you need help with. And then, just seek out someone who's possibly at your level, knowing that some people who might be a little bit higher won't do this for free, but you can figure out how to properly compensate that person. Maybe you can exchange skills if you don't have the money to do a project for them and they do a project for you, whatever works, so you can get an idea of a better working relationship. Because if it's just one-sided, you won't get that like give and take, and you'll get a better idea of the person that you're working with when you do one project and you do another. But then personalities get into it, and then that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. Now, with all of that said, you are working together to make something that, is great, but you need to make sure that you're actually properly dividing the work and what those expectations look like, so you're getting really good at communicating. This kind of duology or duoship really lives and dies by the way that you communicate with each other, and I know that can be difficult as you are two different people and have two different artistic visions, but finding that middle ground will be very important and just add to the overall greatness that you two could possibly create, where somebody's missing something they can fill in. But at the end of it all, if you can figure out how to manage your relationship with the person that you're working with, and you can really work together and communicate properly, I think you can really make something great. Collaborating can really make some amazing things. If you look at some other authors that have done this, you can see some great things that have been made. That's all I'm gonna say for this one. Collaborate. Now, this isn't to be negative or anything, and I'm reiterating a point kind of that Monitor made, but I would say don't expect to win, but to progress. And this is a mindset more so than something that is defeatist. So I find that's important to go in with this mindset of growth in anything that you do, not just manga contests. These are a lot of life issues stuff that can be helped with. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, you'll find yourself more motivated to beat your previous self and not focus on the fact that you didn't win. So you're not focusing on, I didn't win the contest, it's all over now. You're trying to beat your previous self in something that you couldn't do. So if you never made manga before and now you've actually made one, now that's great. You've actually done something. And it's also going to help because this kind of mindset is focused on finishing the greatest work that you can make. And you'll feel proud because, you actually finished something that you started. Now, if anything, would motivate you besides beating yourself, you can take that frustration of not winning and throw it at your next project, because you don't want to lose heart, because all of this is not easy at the end of the day. It takes a lot. We pour our hearts and souls into these projects, and it can be just more than a loss after you've just put all of your whole heart and soul and someone just said no. But I know we have it all in us to keep going and, going all out for our dreams, because being a mangaka is not easy, but you can do it. But yeah, guys, I know this was a whole lot of information, but let me bring back in my friend MonitorComics on their last thoughts about manga contests.
In my opinion, I personally don't think manga contests are the only way to find success as a comic or manga artist. Don't get me wrong, performing well in a manga competition is a good way to get your foot in the door with publishers hosting the events. Competing in contests is how I got my start with Saturday AM after all. Winning a manga contest is also good publicity. If the company hosting the event has a strong fan base, submitting your work to these contests may be a good way to gain new fans. I like to think realistically though. I'm naturally a pessimist when it comes to these kind of things. It's important to remember that for every one winner, there are thousands of losers. I want everyone to know that there are opportunities for comic and manga artists to find success outside of these manga competitions. Some companies offer portfolio review periods, some other companies actively look for new creators using social media. Social media is a very powerful tool for aspiring comic and manga artists. In theory, you can build an entire fan base from just posting your comics and manga online. If the right people find your manga through social media, you could potentially create your own opportunities.
All right, but I really agree, and that was very well said, Monitor. I think that manga contests really need you to just focus on pushing yourself. They are very intense, short bursts of time that test a lot of things in your skill palette. Can you draw? Can you tell a story? Do you understand paneling? And so much more. It's really just about pushing your limits in a short amount of time. And it's designed to make you feel uncomfortable because it's not your comfort zone. It's very hard. Those rules are harsh. But I think with time and, patience, you'll make something even greater than you thought of before, and you'll become an even better mangaka overall. And whatever reason you chose to be in one of these contests, you'll get some reward out of doing so, even if it's not winning. Now, I want to thank MonitorComics for coming on through. I really appreciate all the advice you gave to my people over here. And, just remind them again where they can find you.
If you enjoy listening to me talk and want to learn more about the manga making process, I highly recommend you check out my YouTube channel. We recently hit 43,000 subscribers. If you want to check out my published Saturday AM manga series, Change the World, you can read it for free at pilotmanga.com. I want to take this moment to thank Vandal Marchin for the opportunity to speak with you all today. Drop a comment down below telling us about any manga competitions you have entered or are thinking about entering. Please subscribe to Vandal's channel if you haven't already, and as always, keep creating, everyone. I'll see you all next time.
All right, but yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't hesitate to drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications when you want to hear things that I have to say. But yeah, guys, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Boy. I don't really have an outro for this one, but I'm glad that you made it here. I've almost done my next book, I'll put the pre-order down below. Yeah, something like that. All right. Bye.